On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we draft the Sooners playing in Super Bowl 59. Then in FGTB, we recap OU's blowout loss to Auburn and talk some Thunder. And of course, we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, February 5th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful, award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games, with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. Ted, it's that time of the year.
Yes, it is.
It's that time of the year where, hey, things slow down a little bit. OU's current team, they're just going through winter workouts. They're just grinding. So we got to get a little more creative with the content. So I fully admit what we are about to do could be a ton of fun. I know it's going to be a lot of fun for me and you.
Yes.
But it also could be very stupid. I think it's important that we acknowledge that at the start.
We'll see how it goes. It'll be fun to talk about these guys in the game.
So we're going to draft the Sooners that are playing in the Super Bowl because it is very, very cool that for the third straight season, the University of Oklahoma has more alumni playing in the Super Bowl than any other school. That is not an insignificant stat, man. That is actually it's pretty dang cool. And I know it's got a lot to do with the fact that the Chiefs really like OU guys.
Yep.
But it's still something that you can use, and OU has used as a recruiting, as a recruiting material. So it is what,
It's a lot of
7?
hardware. Yeah. Yep. A lot of hardware. Some OU guys are coming home with the ring. We just don't know who. But that is it's a recruit. Anytime you can put the graphics out and continue to show that your guys are still playing and, whatever graphics, whatever printed material that you send out to recruits, the more stuff you have, the better.
Anything you can point to where you can go, we have more than Georgia. At this point in time, it's typically a very good thing to use on the recruiting trail. It's just, or we have more than Bama. That's where it is. You use that stuff to your advantage if you're Oklahoma. So we've got 7 Sooners on active rosters for Super Bowl 59. On the Eagles, only 2 guys. We've got Jalen Hurts and Lane Johnson. Only 2 guys, but 2 very significant guys.
That's the thing is, there's a lot of OU players, and they're not going to be standing on the sideline watching. Heavily involved.
Got some main characters, some leading men, if you will, not just a bunch of guys playing roles. On the Chiefs, you've got Hollywood Brown. He's back off IR, right? Creed Humphrey, best center in the game. You've got Wanya Morris, Samaje Perine, and maybe the most unheralded star of them all, James Winchester, in year 10.
Crazy.
As the Kansas City Chiefs deep snapper.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. No, there's almost nothing better in sports than to carve out, like, if you can become fantastic at deep snapping, be a good athlete, and play for a great team, you are locked in.
I do want to mention McKade Mettauer is on the Chiefs IR. And I don't know whether we count him or not. If a guy played more seasons at OU than the other place he played, do we claim him as an OU guy? Because that's what Grant Calcaterra did. He was 3 years at OU and only one season at SMU, right?
I claim him, especially with that catch he made in the Big 12 championship against Texas. I claim him for sure. But
So maybe we can work Calc into this draft. I always
sure.
really liked that guy too, and I really
Yeah,
like Mettauer, so maybe we should work him in.
yeah, let's do it.
But then that gives us an uneven 9 to draft. We may need
Mm.
to even it up. It's fine. We'll
Well, I mean, I guess we could work in Calcaterra because the Toyer's not going to be playing in the game.
Good point. Okay, so Calcaterra is in the draft officially.
There we go. Now we got 8.
This is how people know we don't talk about anything before we record these.
Wing
Just
it.
just making decisions on the fly. All right, I'm going to give you the first pick of the Sooners in Super Bowl 59 draft. Who would you like to take number 1 overall?
Let me ask a quick question. Are we drafting as if like we're drafting these players to start our own team? Or are we drafting for like production in the Super Bowl game?
I I'm fine with either. I hadn't thought that deeply on it when we came up with this idea. I say do whatever feels right to you, sir.
I'm going quarterback. I'm going Jalen Hurts.
Of course you
Number
are.
one
Taking the
pick.
easy. You're just taking the layup.
That's right. Jalen Hurts. It's not going to be an easy game for him. You know, the way that they've run the football has been really, really impressive. Chiefs defense is really good. Um, he's going to have to make more plays with his arm than he's really had to in the playoffs if they're going to go in and try and beat the Chiefs.
He's been really good though. Have they turned the ball over in the playoffs? I don't think he's turned it over.
Not that I can remember, not off the
He's
top of my head. They've been
he's
able to, man, when you can just rely on the run game that they've had, it makes life really easy on a quarterback.
his playoff stats this season are 69.6% of his passes completed.
Nice.
That's a really weird way to say that stat. I apologize to everyone for saying it that way. 505 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and then he's got 122 rushing yards for 4 touchdowns.
Production.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
He's been, I think that coming into this postseason, Jalen Hurts was the big question mark for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, how healthy is he?
Right. Yep.
He's looked great.
He looks really good. That combination that they've got between him and how good Saquon Barkley has looked, obviously with their offensive line. And what it's crazy is, the rushing stats really come off the page, but dude, they are stacked at wide receiver.
AJ Brown,
Yep.
De-
Check.
Devontae Smith, like they've got,
Check.
the argument can be made. Do not get mad at me, Taylor Swift fans. Does does Philly have the best tight end in this game as well? Like Dallas Goedert is a fantastic tight end.
He is. He's one of those guys that just quietly carves out a lot of production. Maybe doesn't have the huge flashes or get a lot of attention, but he's put together a hell of a career.
Now, in a one-game setting, I'm taking Travis Kelce. I want to make that very, very clear.
Big game too.
He just when the lights are brightest, that man shows up. He just gets open. It's insane.
He's just
But
hanging around all year to when the playoffs start. Here we come.
but Goddard is really, really good. So it you mentioned it. How much is Hurts going to have to do as a passer in this game? And you have to assume that the Chiefs are going to, like, their number one goal is going to be make Jalen Hurts drop back and have to pick you apart from the pocket. They have to come into this game going, we're gonna shut down Saquon Barkley and we're gonna make Jalen Hurts beat us. Like that's my assumption.
I agree. Now, being able to shut down Saquon Barkley, not just a check mark, like you're going to have to actually do it, which is very difficult. But I agree. You got to put it on Jalen Hurts' arm. It's not like he's been bad, but that you can't let them run the football up and down the field on you.
If your choices are Jalen Hurts right arm or Saquon Barkley's quads, come on,
Yep,
we know what you're choosing.
that's right.
But it is look at us. We have turned the Sooners in the Super Bowl draft into a Super Bowl preview. Is
Well,
that what we're doing? Is that
I
this is happening organically? I like it.
I like it. That's you knew it was going to get to this somehow.
So you took Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
I think I got to take the other Eagle, man, with the second pick. Give me Lane Johnson. He is he's the anchor of just a fantastic Philly offensive line. The guy is a future Hall of Famer. There's just no doubt. And I think one of the most interesting storylines heading in this game is, hey, can they disrupt Jalen Hurts when he's dropping back and passing? And I just don't. Does George Karlaftis, like, does he have the juice to beat Lane consistently? I think the answer to that question is hell no, he doesn't.
No.
Lane is so boring to watch. Like the guy he was one of my best friends in college. We're still very close. I get ridiculously bored because I watch him on every snap. It's like, what are you going to do when you're watching a game? You're going to watch your buddy, right? Like that's what you
Yep.
do. I get so incredibly bored of him just locking guys down and do like it's just very boring to watch at this point because he does it over and over and over again. But I'll tell you this, I'd pay some good money. And the Chiefs have done some of this in the past. If they would kick Chris Jones out to defensive end for a few snaps and let him and Lane go at it, oh man, that would be the word. That would be worth the price of admission. But I think Lane's going to play at a very, very high level. It's what he's done for feels like a decade now. And I just think that if the Chiefs can't disrupt Hurts, then it's going to be a tough day for that defense.
Yeah. Uh, that's the thing is the combination between the running game, some of the play action stuff, and then, we talked about the wideouts that Hurts has really tough to cover, even though the Chiefs secondary is elite. If quarterback has time to throw, it's going to be brutal, but I don't know. We'll see. They'll figure out a way to try and create pressure, but it's probably going to be a give and take. It'll be really hard to get there with four. You'll have to add some guys to the rush, and you better get home because there's some really good dudes running down the field for them, pass catchers.
I think that if you're going to get pressure, it's going to be on the interior for the Chiefs defensive line. Clearly, Chris Jones is elite, but also the interior of that Philly offensive line is the weak point, especially I don't know if you saw any of the clips of their center playing on essentially one leg in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
You can't play at that level against a guy like Chris Jones. You just can't.
He is fun to watch, especially when he gets rolling and he makes a couple of plays and that Chiefs defense is starting to get stops and they've got some momentum. He becomes unblockable.
Who are you taking with the third pick?
Maybe controversial, maybe not, but I'm taking Samaje Perine.
Whoa!
Take the all-time leading rusher for the Sooners. I think he will find a way to have a big impact on the football game, just like he did in the AFC Championship, catching the final pass there for that final first down, nail in the coffin. He has a way of showing up. He doesn't get a ton of opportunities in their offense, but I'll take Samaje.
You're saying I can't imagine that Samaje is going to get a bunch of carries in this game. I don't believe he's had a single carry in their two playoff games this season. But like you mentioned, had the game sealer against the Bills in the AFC Championship game. It is interesting. In the most critical moment in the game, Andy Reid dials it up for Samaje Perine. I mean, who would have thought it? That was such a cool moment for Perine, and I was fired up on the
I know
couch.
he is not easy to not really touch the football the entire game. And then, I mean, I know it's not a long throw, but that is not an easy catch when you're going to the flat like that and catching the ball back behind you. Nice play by him. And, I don't know. It may be a good thing for the Chiefs if he's not involved hardly at all. I don't know, but I think Samaje will find a way to have a imprint on the football game.
It'll be interesting to see if the game, like the way that Philly calls defense, I think everyone's assuming coming into this game that it's going to be a bunch of, hey, two deep safety, keep everything in front of you, like Vic Fangio, stuff that he's known for. What happens if they go the other way and heat him up a little bit?
Yeah.
And
I,
if they do that, Samaje Perine is an excellent guy in blitz pickup.
yeah.
Excellent.
He's a
So,
brick
like, maybe
wall.
he ends up serving a role that maybe we thought he didn't, coming in some of those second and long, third and medium to long situations. I would love to see him get a bunch of snaps, but I think the game and how it goes will kind of dictate how big his role is in this thing
Yep. He'll probably get an opportunity to be in for protection. They'll throw a screen to him and
for a touchdown.
he'll make a big play. Yeah.
Dude, I will not lie. I did not see you going P ride there. I've
Hey
got
man,
to
I'm lead rusher at OU.
I've got
Easy
to I've
pick
got to
for me.
reorganize. How about this? I need a moment to reorganize my thoughts. So we'll get back to this draft. But first, hitting the highway, remember to stop at Love's Travel Stops. You can't miss the heart of the highway. And with the Love's app, you can also save big. How big? 10 or 15 cents big. Save 10 cents per gallon on gas and 15 cents per gallon on auto diesel. Save with the Love's app today and be welcomed by clean places and friendly faces. Certain conditions may apply. See loves.com for details.
You listen to this podcast to get insight from the guys who played the game. Why don't you take that same approach when it comes to buying your beef? When you order from Didier Ranch, you are getting your beef directly from the people who raise it. A rancher knows what it takes to have premium quality beef. Didier Ranch has done it for over 100 years right here in Oklahoma. From delicious 21-day dry-aged ribeyes to savory steak burgers, there is no better place to get your beef. Get your beef from the guys who've done it and use code Oklahoma15 for 15% off on DidierRanch.com. Didier Ranch, tradition tastes better.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, an Oklahoma-owned company and the official drinkware partner of the OU Sooners. Simple Modern recently launched a new, incredibly robust personalizer that allows you to create personalized drinkware for any occasion. You could get personalized water bottles for your kiddo's spring soccer team or wow the one you love for her birthday or Mother's Day with something you create just for her. You can even upload your kiddo's artwork to be engraved on a bottle. Plus, with 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many in Oklahoma, you're also helping Oklahomans everywhere. Create something one of a kind on simplemodern.com. Simple Modern, it's good everywhere. Okay, I've got my wits about me. I'm
All
back.
right, you ready?
I'm back. I'm ready. You threw me off my axis there with the P Ryan pick. I had a
Be on your
plan.
feet. Got to be on your toes.
I came in with a plan and you just absolutely derailed it.
Got to get back to the war room, figure things out.
This is what NFL GMs feel like when someone that they thought wasn't going to get drafted gets drafted and it completely changes your board. I get it now. Totally get it now.
We just need a shot of you in the background working the phones. That's what we need.
I feel like I'm stealing here. I'm going to go ahead and take Creed Humphrey, the best center in football.
Okay. Look at you stacking up on the offensive line. Smart.
Teams are built inside out. You know it. I know it. The world knows it. And in all seriousness, and I've said this before on here, Creed is on his way to the Hall of Fame. He is on his way to being one of, if not the best center to ever play. Like he's legitimately in that conversation in my mind with how he's played early in his career, which is
talk about boring to watch.
Oh, typically boring to watch, but this game,
Yeah, we got some dudes in the interior.
This is the matchup. This is like, in my opinion, this may be the biggest challenge of Creed Humphrey's career. You're playing in the Super Bowl against Jalen Carter. And anyone, if you have watched Jalen Carter closely, he's fantastic. I mean, I saw a quote from, you remember Kyle Long, offensive lineman for the Bears?
Sure. Yeah.
He said Jalen Carter is just Ndamukong Suh with more versatile pass rushes.
Yeah.
That's an absolutely terrifying thought. And remember, Kyle Long was in Chicago when Sue was in Detroit. He knows
Right.
he knows what he's looking at. He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. That's high praise for sure. I think Creed will do great though, but that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. Um,
Elite
he,
on elite, best
yeah,
on best. That is, I think, and it's boring to talk about because it's O line, D line, and it's not as fun to talk about, Mahomes and Hurts and the wide receivers. But I really believe in Super Bowl 59, Creed Humphrey against Jalen Carter is going to be the matchup of the game. I think when you look across the field, I don't know if it's the key to the game for the Chiefs, but for me personally, it is going to be the matchup that I am focusing on when the Chiefs offense is on the field against the Philadelphia Eagles defense, because those two guys are the best at what they do in the world. Like Jalen Carter, I think he's that good. I think he's one of the best defensive tackles in football. And Jordan Davis ain't bad either. That's a big athletic dude as well. But Creed versus Carter is going to be must watch stuff for me on Super Bowl Sunday.
are the Chiefs healthy at guard? Haven't they had some guard issues?
Joe Tooney is playing left tackle for them. And we're going to get to our predictions, but that is, I would assume that Philadelphia is going to have a plan to attack the left guard position
Mm-hmm.
because their all pro left guard is playing left tackle for him. And what he is doing is amazing, by the way. I I've spent some time with Joe Thuney. He's not a big dude. Like he's even like you go out there and you look at it. Now he's just got to be the strongest dude of all time
Mm-hmm.
with the way that he locks guys down at his size. But he is, I mean, he's not a left tackle, man. You compare, like, go look at Mailata for Philadelphia, who is one of the biggest, most athletic humans on the planet. And then you've got Lane for them. And then you look at Thuney out there playing left tackle. It doesn't really even compute. But I think that's something to watch is that left side for the Chiefs. Like, can they hold up against this Philly defensive line?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but I baited you into going offensive line on your first two picks. So you know where I'm going. I'm going Hollywood Brown.
I I feel bamboozled by you, but I will stick to my guns that and also I let you go first. This probably should have been a snake draft where I got two picks in a row, but hey, we're not worried about it. He missed the majority of the season, but he did show up in that Buffalo game. Now it was only what, three catches for 35 yards or so.
Mhm.
But I wonder if Hollywood could be the dark horse difference maker in this game, because if you're the Eagles defense, you're gonna try to focus on Worthy and Kelsey. I feel like those are the two biggest threats offensively for Kansas City. And maybe Hollywood gets loose a little bit. Maybe he gets a couple man-to-man opportunities and goes and wins, makes a huge play in this game.
Yeah. And you know how Andy Reid operates. They've always got a couple of sneaky plays for the Super Bowl that they unveil. It's just a matter of who they're going to try and target. And like you said, um, you know, the guys that are going to get a lot of the eyeballs, Hollywood could have an opportunity if they pull out some weird stuff to have a moment or two. So hopefully he hopefully he has an imprint on the game. I think you're in a good spot though. You've got by far the two best offensive linemen in the football game, and it's going to be a line of scrimmage battle.
Thanks. That makes me feel better about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it's an interesting decision up next though. So let's recap so far. I've got Creed and Lane. You've got Hurts, Hollywood, and Samaje. You're going to definitely win a popularity contest there. But the last two guys, or we threw Calcaterra in here, right?
Calcaterra's in. You still have a chance at production if you want it.
Calcaterra, Wanya Morris, James Winchester are the three left. I played with the guy. I got to be loyal. Give me James Winchester.
Okay.
This is how you know Winchester's great at his job. Have you heard his name mentioned at all during the playoffs?
No.
The answer's no. Not one mention of James Winchester, and that's a very good thing. Guy's in his 10th season, and I think that this could be a game that comes down to a couple of kicks. Like Kansas City, like these field goals for Kansas City, they're going to be crucial, and Butker's been really, really good. But where's it start, Ted? Where's that production start?
Line of scrimmage, you got to snap the football. You got to get the operation down.
Winchester not playing in his first, not playing in his second, not his third, not his fourth. He's playing in his fifth Super Bowl.
It's crazy, man. Crazy. All those
And it
rings
could
are gonna
it
throw
could
off the
come down to a
balance on-
kick.
Yeah, and he's the guy that's always in position. If you muff a punt or something, he's going to be standing right there in front of the returner for an opportunity for a recovery.
Don't make a mistake with James Winchester out there, people. He will pounce on it.
That's right. Nice
I
pick.
just took deep snapper instead of tight end. It just felt wrong taking Calcaterra. He's listed as an SMU guy. I don't know. I do love that guy though.
Yeah.
Do we talk about how weird it was how he retired and then just unretired and now he's having a really solid NFL career? Do we talk about that enough?
I'm I'm thrilled for the guy because it felt like, he had a bunch of concussions back to back to back. And, I don't know how it felt like almost a forced medical retirement. Like, I don't think
Several of them in practice, by the way. And I
Yeah.
only know that because Calc showed me the videos.
Mm.
Like hitting his
So-
head on the ground in practice. I was like, oh man.
I can understand OU was like, listen, we're not comfortable putting you back out there. I don't know how that whole situation worked, but he's found a spot for them. I think I'm going to go with, you know what? Give me Calcaterra. Give me Calcaterra. It is my turn, right? Or is it your turn?
We messed it up. It should have been a snake draft. It's not a big deal. This is either has been very enjoyable for people or they've already turned it off. I'm not sure. It's fine.
It's given us a way to talk about the football game. And, they do a lot of multiple tight end stuff. And we talked about Goddard is their number one guy, but they have 2 and 3 tight ends on the field a bunch. So he'll have some opportunities out there. I imagine if he gets any production, probably be the check down guy over the ball off of that second tight end spot, some play action stuff, maybe some boots or sprint passes where he's a late option. But give me Calcaterra.
That gives me Wanya Morris. Man, I'm O-line heavy. What a shocker.
Hey, now does he still come in when they bring an extra tackle on the field?
My assumption, I think he was inactive for the AFC Championship game. And with them moving Tooney out to left tackle, and they've got Mike Caliendo playing left guard. They still have it's Jawan Taylor, Suamataia, the guy that from BYU. They've got DJ Humphreys. I'm not sure that Wanya is going to be active for the Super Bowl. So maybe it makes sense that he was the last selection because I'm assuming he won't be in pads. Usually if you're inactive for the AFC Championship game, you didn't have any significant injuries along the offensive line in it, you're kind of going to roll with the same group.
Be there enjoying the show, which will be fun. New Orleans, baby.
Prediction time. Kansas City is a 1.5-point favorite. Over under is 48.5, Ted.
Golly, that's low, isn't it?
Pretty low. Too low in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think the over is my favorite. Like if I was betting on the game, I think the over is my favorite bet.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be an incredibly tight game. I've got it. Yeah, I guess you don't have to, but until someone beats the Chiefs, pull off the three-peat, I've got the Chiefs winning 38-35. Maybe a late touchdown drive magic from Mahomes down the field to get the win.
I think, and I don't want to speak for everyone, I think 38-35 with a last-minute touchdown drive for the Chiefs would be an epic Super Bowl. So
Check
sign me up for that.
Yep.
This is where I go against everything I've said the last couple of weeks. Give me the Eagles.
Ooh.
What was it, like 2 episodes ago? I said, hey, I'm just not picking against Mahomes. I've changed my mind.
It's not a bad pick.
I think we're all so scared of Patrick Mahomes, and we should be. The guy is incredible. He's the best football player on the planet. But if you go guy by guy, position by position, like the Eagles are better, man.
I agree.
They're just better. Like you look at the Eagles offense, running back, who are you taking? You're taking Saquon. Quarterback, you're obviously taking Mahomes, but offensive line. I mean, everywhere but the center position, you're taking an Eagle. Trey Smith's really good at right guard for the Chiefs, but the tackle matchup, it's not even close. Mailata and Lane are much better than what the Chiefs are putting on the field. Tight end, Kelsey, Goddard. Interesting debate there with where Kelsey's at in his career. Wide receiver, you're taking the Eagles. Guys.
Running
it's just,
back.
You
Eagles.
go the defense, the first defense. Now, Chris Jones versus Jalen Carter. That's a fun conversation.
Right.
But edge guys like Smith from the Eagles has been fantastic in the playoffs. It's just the Eagles are really good, man.
They are. The thing that I love and hate about the Chiefs is how great they are at situational football. It is a masterclass whenever they're out there. End of halves, end of games, red zone, like whatever it is, just pick a situation, and they are the most prepared, experienced team there is. And there's really no substance. That's why they beat a bunch of teams that whenever you go down the checklist, they should lose to. They find ways to win it. But I'm with you. And if the Eagles can get the running game going, which they've been able to, it's not like they're running the ball against a bunch of bums in the playoffs. But, Barkley had 3 games over 100 with one of them over 200. He's been incredible. So it's very tough to stop them. If he gets rolling, I don't know if he stayed the betting favorite, but he was the favorite to win NFL MVP, at least at one point whenever the game was first, we knew the matchup. If he gets rolling and people think that he's going to, Eagles are going to be very tough to beat.
I just think they've got more playmakers. And I think that they can dictate the pace of the game.
Play some keep away a little bit.
I feel like a moron picking against Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. But I keep reminding myself the Chiefs have trailed by 10 or more in all four of the Super Bowls they've played with Mahomes. Now they've won three of those, but I just feel like if they get in that type of hole in this game, Philly has the goods to just put them away.
Yeah.
I don't know how to factor in the motivation factor that they lost to this team a couple years ago when they were up by double digit. I don't know how all that works and all that factors in. Like Jalen Hurts said, they're different rosters. But I don't know, man. It's this simple. I just think Philly's a more talented team.
Yeah.
I think they've got a better roster. Now, can Mahomes go out there and pull it off? Absolutely. I'm probably too scared to take the Eagles money line. Just give me them plus 1.5.
Yeah. I'm looking at, the Chiefs in the regular season and who all they've played this year. I mean, Philly's a really a different animal than anyone that they've played. And I mean, I think it's a really interesting matchup. Because I can't really compare them to anyone else that they've played this year. So I mean, I guess Ravens a little bit to some degree. They beat the Ravens 27-20. I don't know. It is not a bad pick. And if this was if I'm not including any of the Chiefs' history, I'd easily pick the Eagles. Like everything tells me to pick the Eagles, except for the fact that this thing you can't really quantify or put your finger on that the Chiefs just do it. That's the only reason I'm taking the Chiefs.
I believe the kids call it aura.
Aura.
Is
Yeah.
that the is it simply a vibes thing? Like I don't
It's a
know.
vibes thing.
When you line it up, Philadelphia is better.
Yeah.
But Mahomes. It
Mahomes.
just I think that everyone is so scared to go against Patrick Mahomes, including me. But to my core, I believe it's a line of scrimmage sport. And I was at the Super Bowl these two teams played against the last 2 years ago. Philly's defensive line could not hold up. I don't think it's going to happen the way that it did in that game. I I think Philly's going to be a little better on the defensive line, and that's going to be the difference, and that's going to be why they win.
How much of a factor do you think it is for the Chiefs that they are just, I mean, going to the Super Bowl, like the whole process of the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl, the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, and I know the Eagles have been there, but how much of an edge is it that they just know how to handle the circus and the scheduling and all of that stuff unlike anyone else?
I think it definitely matters. But there's a lot of guys on this Philadelphia team that were part of it 2 years ago.
It's true.
So I think that you have to give the coaching advantage, the experience advantage. You have to give that to Kansas City. There's no doubt about it. I just think Philly's better at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm probably not going to watch anything but Creed Humphrey versus Jalen Carter. So you guys tell me what's going on around that.
Well, that'll be cinema of itself right there. If it's really boring, Creed's having a hell of a game. So no, that's it. It's a good thing that it's such a tight pick, and it's a good thing that, we're on opposite sides of it. In theory, we should expect a really good game.
I think everyone's going to be really disappointed if we don't get a good game.
Yeah.
I, last thing on this, which by the way, how do you think this went? I feel like it was okay.
I think it's amazing.
Okay. Thanks, man. I think if it's not a close game, that means Philly is winning by multiple scores. Like I don't see a version of this game unfolding where the Chiefs just blow the Eagles out.
Yeah.
I think if it's not close, it's going to be Philly winning by 2 touchdowns. I just can't see it going the other way because
Yeah.
I think they've got a better roster.
That's fair. That's fair. I could see it. Like the only way that that would happen is if all of a sudden Philly starts turning the ball over in bunches, which that has not been their thing. So no, I'm actually with you on that.
You ready to talk some Sooners hoops?
Ooh, yeah, well, yeah, I guess so.
We'll do it.
Ready or not.
But first,
Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. Go to schwabmeat.com to order any of Schwab's outstanding products and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab dogs are iconic. I like to keep it simple. Just a bun, dog, mustard, ketchup. Also, the jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is ridiculous. Schwabmeat.com, code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
Oklahoma's favorite pub, Pub W, is a modern American pub offering a great new take on classic drinks and cuisine. They offer an extensive beer and specialty drink selection with something for everyone, and that's exactly why Pub W was voted best happy hour. And we all love a delicious brunch. Pub W brunch is served Saturdays and Sundays until 2 p.m. with some of the most delicious brunch offerings you'll find anywhere. Now open in Yukon, Oklahoma. Visit one of their 6 Oklahoma locations. Visit pubdub.com for locations and menus.
Insurica's launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements. Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
All right, time for some football, guys, talking basketball. And it didn't go well at Auburn. Didn't
No.
go well at all, Ted. Went and the Sooners got blown out by the number 1 team in the country, 98-70. There were some moments of hope in that first half.
Yeah.
Displayed some fight in that first half, and in the second half, it just the wheels kind of fell off for the Sooners. My number one takeaway: Auburn's a lot bigger and more athletic than Oklahoma.
Boy, they are big and they are athletic, really good on defense. They hit big shots. The crowd was into it. Everything that you could click off in the favor of Auburn, they had it.
Can we just point out? Let's just get this out of the way. Why did the SEC network announcers feel the need to call out OU fans for the home environment at Lloyd Noble? That was strange, right? It happened more than once.
It did, but here's the thing. I can't say they're wrong,
No one can.
you know? Just it I mean,
I
we've
just
watched.
have you ever heard an announcer go, "Hey, this visiting team, their home arena needs to be better." Yeah, I was just like,
Yeah,
"Wait, whoa. We're getting our butts kicked here. We don't need you to pile on, guys. Come on."
right. Taking arrows from all over the place in this thing, but yeah, whenever I first heard it, I was like, hang on, did he just say what? Because I'm not like super dialed into the play-by-play always. I'm usually kind of walk around doing stuff around the house or whatever. And yeah, I heard that and I was like, now that's interesting. But I mean, it's one thing if you're at the game and there's not a big crowd there, but whenever you're at a different place and it's mentioned, Yeah, that's something. But I mean, we've seen week after week, you're going to a lot of these arenas, and dude, the SEC has some big arenas. There's several that are 19, 20, 20 plus thousand, and they are packed night in, night out. And Auburn was no different.
Sooners fans, you got a chance to prove those announcers wrong on Saturday at 11 a.m. when number 4 Tennessee comes to town.
Need a big home environment.
Prove those nerds wrong. But back to the blowout loss. It just felt like OU was completely overwhelmed in the front court.
Yep.
Auburn's bigs, Broom, Cardwell. Cardwell is the most animated big I've ever seen in my life. His celebrations when he was blocking shots, and I think the guy had like 6 blocks, so good for him. But his celebrations up and down the court were ridiculous. If he was on our team, I would think they were incredible and entertaining. But I was just like, would this guy calm down? But
Yeah.
those guys had a massive effect on the game. Meanwhile, Godwin and McGee did. Let's just be real. Those guys did essentially nothing. They were non-factors in the game.
Yep. Yeah. It it is rare to see Jalen Moore with his athleticism routinely go to the rim and not be able to elevate over guys and get his layups blocked and not be able to get to the rim like he typically does. Because I thought he did a really good job putting the ball on the floor and getting aggressive and attacking the rim. But it is very difficult to finish with that group around the rim.
He's got to learn, in my opinion, my expert basketball opinion, he's got to learn to use his body like when he gets by guys, because he won on the bounce multiple times, went to the rim, and it either got significantly altered or blocked by the guy that was trailing him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to learn how to put his body into guys and to protect the ball as he's going up.
Yep.
It's something you see NBA guys do. Like they win on the dribble and you'll see them lean in. They lean in and create contact to try to get a foul call, but also to prevent that guy from like jumping and using length and athleticism. Like it's something you learn, but Jalen Moore has been so athletic his entire life. There's not many guys that could just trail him like that and block his shot, but it happened. I mean, how many times? 3 times, 4 times in the game where it was clear he wasn't used to that situation in particular, not being able to go straight up and just lay it in. So he's got to learn how to adjust to like defenders having that athleticism and creating more contact for himself to protect the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. They look like the number 1 team in the country. I mean,
yes.
And they had, like I said, the crowd was, because there were some moments where the Sooners were hanging around and they'd put together, some, a couple of really nice possessions, both offensively and defensively. And it was just really hard to extend any runs because the crowd would get into it, their defense would get into it, and they'd come down. I don't remember exactly when it was in the game, but we had a little something going, and then we turned it over on an inbound, and they hit a 3, and then I think they had a foul call. Like it just, as soon as you thought you put something together, they would just snuff it out really quickly. I thought going into the game, if we were going to win, we were going to have to hit a bunch of threes because it was going to be really hard in the paint. And I wish we would have just fired, like the game plan is fire a ton of threes.
How many times do we have to say it on here? Listen, I know that we're idiots when it comes to basketball.
Yes.
When we're breaking down football, we know what we're talking about. That's why people listen to this podcast. But I don't know how you can come into this game and look at what Auburn has in the front court. The size, the length, the depth. But you look at Broom and Cardwell and you go, okay, we're going to be overmatched there. We're going to lose the battle in the paint. And they did. What was it? 46-20 points in the paint.
Something like that. Yeah.
Coming into the game, you have to be realistic and go, we're going to lose that battle. And you have to adjust your offensive game plan accordingly. OU shot 3 less threes than Auburn. That's just that is not using the math to your favor. And that's why I've mentioned it several times. Like when you are outmatched, whether it's athletically, especially if you're not going to be able to get easy baskets at the rim, which I feel like you could count the easy baskets OU got at the rim on one hand in this game.
Right. Yes.
You got to shoot and make threes. It's just a math problem, dude. You're outmatched in the paint. You know they've got better players in the paint. How do you counter that? How do you go and win the basketball game? Ted, you're exactly right. You got to fire threes, and you have to set up your offense accordingly. And shooting 3 less threes than Auburn, that is not a formula to going and beating Auburn on the road. It makes no sense, dude.
Well, here's the thing. Contrary to what people might think, the Sooners are actually number one, or were going into the game number one in a couple of areas. They're the number one free throw shooting team in the conference. We got to the line a lot. 27 of 29 from the foul line. Check. I thought Forsyth did a really good job finding ways to get to the foul line. It was difficult. I mean, I thought he did a really good job creating some opportunities to score, but it was really hard to finish on those guys. So check on that. Advantage Oklahoma. That's how it should have gone. But then going in, we're the number one three-point shooting field.
No. I like three-pointing. We're the number one three-pointing team in the country. It's perfect. Everyone knows what you mean.
Number one three-pointing team in the SEC. And, I mean, Bryson Goodine, he may be number one in the SEC in three-point percentage. He shot 1 3 and made it. He shot, I was at the A&M game where he shot 11 threes and made 9 of them. The second A&M game, I don't know what his numbers were, but, he fired up a bunch of threes and was a big weapon in that game, shooting the three. You have to have him going out and firing. He's too big of a weapon. He can't shoot 1 3 against a team like Auburn if you're going to win. Can't do it.
It's all connected. I'm sure the plan was to shoot more threes. They had a lot of trouble beating guys off the dribble.
Mm-hmm.
And
to getting them to collapse and then be able to kick out.
Because if you can't beat guys off the dribble and get both of your feet in the paint and force defensive rotations, you're not going to get nearly as many good looks at three. And also Auburn, and I'd have to go back and study the tape, but Auburn, they probably felt pretty good about not helping off a bunch of the 3-point shooters and letting Broome and Cardwell protect the rim if guys got beat.
Yeah.
And, all the other guys staying attached.
Yeah.
But still, with that being said, and I know they were just physically outmatched in the game, you got to shoot more threes.
Starters were 4 of 7 for Oklahoma shooting threes.
That's insane. You also, Jeremiah fears you can't just disappear in the second half. That's another one of, I thought he was solid in the first half, but he didn't have, you remember that demeanor he had in the second half against Vandy? Where was that guy? Where was that confidence? Where was that swagger? Like, you can't just do it and be that guy when things are going well. You need to, if you're going to be that guy, be that guy.
Yeah, and you could see in the game that Auburn knew he was a true freshman, knew that he had struggled in some time in some games, and then, like, when he was at the foul line, they were chirping at him. We obviously saw the second half some of the physical stuff that started to go down Feel like they got in Fear's head a little bit in that game, which that's what veteran good teams do. They try and find a weakness and exploit it. And I think they got in his head a little bit.
Last thing, I think the frustrating thing for OU fans is they've had two opportunities now against Auburn and Bama, and they've just been played off the court.
Mm-hmm.
And now those are two of the top four teams in the country right now.
Yep.
Or two of the top three teams in the country. Auburn's number one, Bama's number two, or Bama's number three. And you get beat 98-70 on the road against Auburn. You get beat 107-79. Now, that was all the way back in early January. But remember, that was the first game off where they started, 13-0?
Yep.
So you've had, you had all of the excitement from the Vandy win, and this is what you get on the road against Auburn. Non-competitive. Uncompetitive? Non-competitive.
Non.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounds better.
It sounds better. You're right. And then you had all the excitement of the 13-0 start. Go to Bama. Let's see what we got. Non-competitive. So it just feels like they're really far off from being on that level.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think that whenever Fears is on, we're a different team. When we're hitting threes in volume, we're a different team. But the repeating problem, sometimes we're able to overcome it and make it to where it's not as big of a factor, but pretty much game in, game out, we do not have the size and the athleticism in the front court to compete. And this isn't a 2025 problem. This goes back a long time where we have not been able to rebound and have the toughness and the physicality and the size in the paint, and which I get it. It's hard. It's like defensive linemen, right? There's not a lot of those guys out there, and the ones that are available are very hard to hang on to. But I mean, you look at it, got Auburn Broom for them, a fifth-year senior that's played a ton of big-time basketball. Like, those guys are incredibly rare, and we have not had those guys. And in this conference, week in, week out, you're going up against big, athletic, deep front courts, and that's where we lose the advantage, I feel like, every time. And then, it just kind of trickles down from there.
I think that's beautifully said. Makes me sad. That being said, that's a game you're supposed to lose.
Correct.
On the road against number one. You're supposed to lose that game. Do you wish it was closer? Do you wish the margin wasn't so ugly? Of course. But you got to defend home court.
Yep.
A tremendous opportunity with number 4 Tennessee coming to town on Saturday.
The Auburn game, the Tennessee game, the Florida game, I don't know, throw maybe at Missouri, number 15 Missouri in that stretch. But there were some games that you are very unlikely to win. In order to make the postseason, the tournament, it feels like you're going to have to steal a game that you kind of check off as an unlikely to win. And Auburn is out of the way. That one's gone. Tennessee's the next opportunity, number 4 team in the country coming to town. Unlikely to win, but time is running out. If you want to get to the 20 win number, which you feel like is kind of the magic number where you're in, we had 10 games to win 4. Now we're down to 9 games to win 4. And, you got LSU at home. You have to win that game. No excuse to lose that one. You're at Texas late. I mean, you got LSU and Texas are the only teams you play the rest of the year that are not top 25 teams. So, I mean, those are the ones that you kind of got to say that we need to win those. And I know it's going to be tough at Texas, but Mississippi State is going to be a home one. They're a fringe top. They're 22 right now. Kentucky, who looks beatable on the road. All right, they got whipped by Arkansas at home. There's a lot of emotion around that one. And then I think I didn't see the end of it, but they were getting beat pretty good by Ole Miss. They end up losing that one, I guess, right?
Yeah, Ole Miss handled them.
You got to feel like that may be a game that you're going to have to win when you play Kentucky at home. Point is, you're going to have to find a way to win some of these tough games where you're not going to be given much of a chance.
We're starting to get pretty dialed into the college basketball stuff, man. I'm proud of us.
Hey, I've watched more college basketball this year than I ever have. The SEC has been so fun. I don't know if it's just because it's not like the Big 12 was bad basketball by any stretch. I guess maybe the newness, whatever, but I'm having a lot of fun watching all these different games.
Let's talk a little Thunder. Don't have to spend much time on it because I was there on Monday night, and that was basically a glorified scrimmage against the Milwaukee Bucks. What is up with all these teams not playing their guys against us? What's happening?
Hey, we can't beat them, so just let's rest some guys, try and get some rest, try and get a little healthier.
I get it was the second night of a back-to-back for the Bucks, but no Giannis, no Dame, no Middleton, no Brook Lopez. It was a nice stress-free game for us Thunder fans, but I wanted to watch Giannis play. I feel like he refuses to play in Oklahoma City in the regular season. I think that's 3 DNPs in a row in the regular season for Giannis. Makes me sad. I just want to watch the guy play. He's incredible.
Yeah.
But hey, as I watched the Bucks in that lineup, I kind of started smiling, going, "That was us a couple seasons ago." Putting a lineup like that out on the floor. But the difference between the lineup that the Thunder were rolling out there a couple seasons ago was that the Bucks are not tanking. They're a playoff team. They have Giannis, they have Dame. So that was weird. It was weird to see that kind of lineup from a team that is not actively tanking in a season. It was strange.
Yeah. Wild. Shea had another big night. He what you're going to get out of him, night in, night out. I guess my question is KD going to be wearing a Thunder jersey for the Toronto game on Friday?
He's been ruled so that Thunder Suns tonight, late tip, 8:30. Take your nap, people. But he's doubtful for tonight, and clearly the NBA trade deadline, I think it's tomorrow. So those two things clearly are related. Like he's not hurt. Now, I believe the Suns are saying he's got an ankle issue. He doesn't have an ankle issue. He's fine. I think it is let's see what type of trade offers we get for Kevin Durant situation for the Suns.
Yeah.
Which they're stuck. They're stuck. Their roster isn't close to being a roster that can come out of the West, that can do anything significant. So their new owner did a bunch of stuff, and it has not worked out. The Bradley Beal deal was just, oh my gosh. But they're currently 10th in the West. So if they can trade Durant and kind of reset, we'll see. I'm sure Durant wants to compete and wants to be on a team that can go play for a title, but I don't know. We'll see if he gets moved or not.
Is there, because I don't know how much of a chance is. I've just seen people talking about it. Is there, what would you put the chances on him coming back to OKC? And if it were to happen, how would that be received?
I think for the proper pieces, sign me up. But you're not moving any of your big three. You're not moving Jalen Williams. You're not moving Chet. You're not moving SGA.
No.
we can all look past what happened in the past and acknowledge that adding Kevin Durant to the roster would be pretty cool. I mean, if you're talking about going and winning a title, but I don't think the Thunder are gonna. I don't think they're gonna shake up anything
Yeah,
significantly like that.
I
I
agree.
just don't.
It's funny though that yesterday my son he's like, "Hey, come look at this," and he was watching some little. It was a little YouTube clip of the Thunderstruck movie, and he's like, "Can I rent this?" So yeah, we rented it and watched it before the OU game, and KD had KD on there, and he was making a bunch of shots. My son's like, "There's no way he can make all the shots like that." I was like, yes, he can. Absolutely, 100% he can."
Buddy, let
So
let me show you some highlights.
yeah, that was funny though.
How'd you
That's
feel about how'd you feel about Durant's acting chops in that one?
about what I expected.
Fair. That's fair.
But it was very entertaining movie. My son loved it. It was good.
I don't know if he's going to get traded. I know this. I'm bummed he's not playing. Like it's fun when Durant comes back and plays. Like
Yep.
he's incredible at basketball. It's just very entertaining to watch and it just adds a little juice to everything.
Yep.
So
Yep.
probably another easy win for the Thunder tonight, unless Devin Booker goes for 50 or something like that. But we'll see. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. But first, three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you are headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School represents a tradition of educational excellence in Oklahoma City. Grounded in a faith-based education, Bishop McGinnis offers a college prep curriculum that includes 26 AP courses, participation in OSSAA athletics, and numerous clubs and organizations for students to join and grow. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available.
And go to opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED for 10% off our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED. Buttery soft and 10% off. As always, Ted, kicks off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
Oh, Myles Garrett, the Brown. You got to imagine that, he has put the trade request out there. You got to imagine the Browns going to be in full rebuild mode right now. So I imagine that they're going to try and stockpile some picks and stuff, and that request will be honored. And he's still playing incredible football, and he's going to be a highly sought after piece. I don't know. I mean, there's been a bunch of names show up as possible landing sites. I don't know that you can rule anyone out really, but he wants to go play at a competitor. I can't blame the guy, and it'll be nice for him getting out of Cleveland. I feel like he's an incredible football player, still in his prime, I think, at least for a couple more years. And Browns fans, I'm sorry. This is just how it's going to go. It's going to starting back at square one. And Myles Garrett, it's going to be a breath of fresh air. I think wherever he ends up going, I think he's going to go somewhere that's going to be really competitive. But it's got to feel good for him to kind of start a new chapter, perhaps.
Very interested in seeing where he lands.
Yeah. Difference maker wherever he goes.
I mean, I still remember I was on the Browns when they drafted Myles Garrett. Fun story. Have I ever told you this story?
I don't know.
First time I ever met Myles Garrett. This is a true story. They had drafted him. You're already there when or the rookies are there, but there really isn't any interaction. I hadn't seen him yet. First time I met him, I'm in the shower by myself, washing my legs. I look up, Myles Garrett. All of Myles Garrett.
You got to see the full draft pick, right? The whole
Got to
thing.
see all of the first pick of the draft. Impressive. And so that was my reason. He was like, oh, Miles. I was like, I'm Gabe. Pleasure to meet you. Damn glad to have you. Now, didn't end up being part of that team, but it
As weird
was
as it is, that's not as awkward as it sounds
no,
somehow, but it's just kind of how it is.
I didn't know he had come in the shower. He moves quietly. Not a loud guy, very quiet guy, keeps to himself. Interesting cat, but yeah, that was quite the experience. But it took about 2 minutes of watching the guy out of practice to go, oh my gosh, this guy is incredible. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the best players in the National Football League, reigning defensive player of the year. The guy's an absolute terror off the edge, but I Buffalo, Detroit, like I want to see him go to like a true contender.
Yeah, Detroit is the one that I really look at and think about where, I mean, can you imagine him being the other piece on the edge for them? I mean, they're already really good there. I know they got banged up this year, but that would be crazy in Detroit. But he's still in his prime. He's, has he won multiple defensive MVPs?
I know he won it last year.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if he hasn't. Let me look.
Uh, Point is, they are going to be able to get some. They're not throwing him out on the trade block for nothing. So I'm curious to see what some of these real good competitive teams are willing to give up in order to get him, because he's going to come at a cost. And what do you give in order to get him and not lose some of your competitiveness? I don't know. It may be just a bunch of stockpiled picks for the Browns. We'll see.
Four-time first team All Pro, only one NFL Defensive Player of the Year award. Come on, Miles. Pick it up. What are we doing? No,
And
but it is the Browns employed me two different times. And I typically cheer for the teams that I was on. I've had a very, very difficult time cheering for the Browns since they signed Deshaun Watson. And I feel like this is still fallout from the contract they gave him.
yeah,
They are in cap hell because of that contract and what they did at the quarterback position. And I assume Myles Garrett's looking around going, if we don't have a quarterback, we're not going to win anything.
That's right.
And so I have to assume that whole thing that is just still hanging over the Cleveland Browns organization, that played a big role in him being like, man, I got to get out of here if I want to win anything.
Yeah. I mean, especially in their division, you're playing against Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson. They have to get competitive at quarterback, and that's just the start of it.
Who do you have as your loser of the week?
I I had to go with all those folks out there that love spring games. Matt Rhule, and I don't know if it was a big shock or a surprise to anyone to hear what he had to say about it, but was very telling. Matt Rhule says, I don't know if we're going to play a spring game. I'm just not that interested in putting all of our players out on showcase to where, someone comes and has a good spring game, and here come the jackals trying to take all of your players through tampering and the back channels and however that happens. And I can't necessarily blame him whenever you see the Wisconsin situation that's going on. And I mean, there is another transfer portal window, but even if there's not, it feels like, at least at the moment, there's nothing stopping guys from saying, yeah, I'm leaving. So it's hard to blame him. And I'm interested to see, now that someone has come out and said it, what does the rest of the country do? Do they follow suit? Are there a lot of people that feel the same way and are going to be looking into their spring games saying, do we really need to do this? I don't know. Money, I think, is going to be the big factor because it wasn't very long ago. Spring game was a spring game, not that big of a deal. But as they started televising them and really putting a bunch of money into them, pumping them up, making a big, because when the recruiting window changed, the focus in recruiting switched to the spring, and the spring game kind of became the big showcase piece. I don't know. I'm curious to see how that all kind of falls after what Rhule said, if it does at all.
What do you I like spring games. It will just be another indicator that this sport is broken if people stop playing spring games because of how the transfer portal works.
Yep.
Like, guys, we've got a problem if we're doing that. If we're that paranoid about losing players to the portal, that we don't want our guys to go play football on a field. It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Fix the system. And I understand where Matt Rhule is coming from. I also feel like it's kind of paranoid. Yeah. Just a little bit. Like, hey, if one guy plays good, someone's going to come steal him. Like, is that really the case? Are we sure? But spring games are for the fans.
Like for this year for Oklahoma,
like it's going to be a massive deal with Arbuckle and Mettauer and like
that's the thing. When you got a new, like when you have something new that people haven't seen, they want to get a glimpse of it. New quarterback, new offensive system. Like I would imagine, whether cooperating, that spring game for Oklahoma this year would be massive. So, and I guess I don't really envision much of a change for teams this year because, it's not something that they start working on week of for spring game, right? It's a big production. So there's a lot that has already been, a lot of work that's already been done towards that, I would imagine, for a lot of people. But, in the future, if there's not some type of, hard rules that everyone is going to follow, you could see teams starting to use it as an excuse to not do it because there's already schools that don't. Oklahoma State really hasn't done it last couple of years. Well, Ole Miss really didn't do it last year. They did some weird.
Iowa State doesn't really.
Yeah.
I think spring games are important from an evaluation standpoint. Like if I was a coach, there's no preseason games, man. Practice is not the same as going out there and playing on a field in front of thousands and thousands of people. And maybe I value spring games more than other people because of my experience as a player. Like I think going out before my sophomore year, I think going out and playing well in the spring game when I had switched positions, like gave me a ton of confidence. And I think it gave the coaches a lot of confidence in me. Like I practiced pretty well and then went out and played well in the spring game in front of a bunch of people. And like, that was a big deal for me. And I know the sport is completely different now. I get that. But we're going to let how the sport operates now just erase something that's been part of programs for how long?
Long time.
I mean, it's just at what point is it too much, man? Like,
I know.
And also, let's not forget
fan problem developing too.
That's what I'm saying. Let's not forget. A lot of fans are getting rubbed the wrong way. But there's also a lot of fans that are donating their hard-earned money for some of these guys to come play football at their school. They may want to see them go out there and play a little bit in the spring game, okay?
Yeah.
They may want to see what their investment's looking like.
And I have to imagine,
and I know it's critical. It sounds harsh saying it that way, but I view college football the way that I view the NFL now. I mean, the guys are Whether, and it sounds bad, but this was our life at one point. Like, you are an asset. That's that's college football now. We're in pro football.
Yeah.
You got people investing money to get guys to come. Like, it's like an owner in the NFL.
Don't ask us to invest in a product if there's not going to be a product, right?
Tremendous way of putting it.
I I do think that, especially for the younger guys, the unproven guys, that it's way easier to approach spring with a certain level of intensity whenever there's this thing at the end, right? That you're building towards. And some people don't put a lot of emphasis on the spring game. I understand that. But, there is this thing at the end that we're building to go try and perform really well at in front of some eyeballs, maybe even on television. And whenever you have that thing that's waiting there, I think the way you practice and ramp up to it's almost like a preparation for a bowl game or something. So I don't know. I think it is, as long as you don't take bad injuries, which could happen in a practice as well, obviously, but if you can avoid some of that and keep some of your star players where they play at a minimum, I think it's a big positive, a big plus for the younger, unproven players. I mean, there's a pressure to go perform when you're under the lights in front of people.
It's just a great thing for the fans, man. Like, it's part of the routine.
Re-energize the fan base. It's been a while since you've seen some football. Like I said, especially if the weather's good. I mean, there we have a really good showing at our spring game. A lot of people come out. The game isn't that big of a deal, but put together your tailgate, see your football friends that you hang out with during the season. And the other part of it is, we almost always have around 50,000 people for our spring game. That's not an insignificant amount of people that are coming to Norman, going to the bars, going to the restaurants, staying in hotels. I mean, you create quite a bit of economic activity in that regard as well. And the local vendors near the stadium, it's something that they have. You've got these handful of moments throughout the year where, those big days probably have a massive impact on whether or not you had a good year or not in your business.
There's also still the spring transfer window. And if you're a fan and you watch a spring game and maybe it looks like you're not in a great situation at a position, maybe that motivates you a little more to say, hey, guys, we need to address this in the spring window.
Let's watch some spring games and see who looked good.
Who do we have our eyes on? No, I think that it would be a real shame if the way that college football operates now eliminates spring games.
Totally agree.
Just be it would just be another thing that turns fans off.
Yep.
And I feel like that list is growing and growing and growing and growing. And I'd prefer it to stop. I'd prefer that list to stop growing.
And despite what other people try to do, there's not a replacement for it. You know, Ole Miss having a slam dunk competition or some skills challenges stuff that they've done. It's not going to replace it for the fans. I mean, I don't know that anyone really cares necessarily that it's a good game or whatever, but they want to show up in a game atmosphere. Kind of, it's close to what you get in the fall and enjoy that aspect of it, and see some of your young guys go out and show what they've got.
Also, the spring game weekend is awesome for us. All the former players that come back
Yep.
get to see guys. You see these guys once a year, maybe at the spring game, and you see some guys you haven't seen in 10 years at the spring game, and that's cool. That's fun. So If Nebraska wants to cancel it, fine, but I hope Oklahoma doesn't follow Nebraska's lead.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's get to my winner and loser. But first,
We are brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code OK Breakdown to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. I got my eyes on the Super Bowl, and I'm going to be selecting Patrick Mahomes more than 0.5 passing yards. Yes, that's correct. I read that right. 0.5 passing yards. They're basically just handing that square over to you. And then I'm also selecting Saquon Barkley, less than 114.5 rushing yards. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code OK Breakdown to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
and we are public rec guys now. Hoodies are awesome, pants are awesome. Wear them all the time. Extremely comfortable, just athleisure at its finest. Go to publicrec.com and use code OKBreakdown for 20% off. And guys, you got to get some of the pants. The versatility of Public Rec's pants is just great. You can wear these to work because they look like dress pants, even though they feel like sweatpants. They're also perfect for the golf course because of their proprietary blend of performance materials that provides a perfect combination of breathability and stretch while still holding its form. They don't get all like droopy. Don't worry about that. So this February, treat yourself right because comfort is always in season. These pants are so good that I'm getting choked up. That's how good they are, people. Upgrade to Public Rec and feel the difference. For a limited time, you can get 20% off Public Rec by using code OKBreakdown at checkout. Just head to publicrec.com and use code OKBreakdown and you are all set. Oh, and when they ask how you found them, be sure to mention our show. It really helps. Publicrec.com, code OKBreakdown. My winner of the week, you know what? You know what just popped into my head?
What's that?
From our spring game conversation. Do you think some coaches are going to start hiding guys? Like NFL preseason game style? Like, oh, I've been taking second team reps on the practice field, and all of a sudden I'm the third team guy in the preseason game. That's weird. What's going on? They're hiding you, bro, because they're going to cut you and put you on their practice squad, and they're not telling you.
Yeah.
I may have some personal experience with that sequence of events.
Yeah, you get the after the individual warm up out there on the field, the coach comes over and says, "Hey, I think we're going to hold you out today."
Weird, coach. Why?
That ankle injury you had back in the season, we don't want to risk anything.
Interesting. I wonder if we're going to see college football coaches hiding players, not putting them out there on the field for spring games so that no one gets eyes on them. Of course, we're going to see college football coaches do that. They're the most paranoid people on the planet. Of course, we're going to see that happen. My winner of the week. Speaking of college football coach, Kirby Smart. Because even though he hasn't talked to him about it, apparently the lawmakers in the state of Georgia are willing to do whatever it takes for the dogs to be good. Did you see this?
Yes.
Georgia's governor. So earlier this year, or I guess in 2024, Georgia's governor signed an executive order basically saying the NCAA can't punish Georgia schools for paying their athletes NIL money. Something very similar has since happened in Oklahoma. But Georgia has taken another step. Georgia State Senator Brandon Beach and a couple of other people is sponsoring a bill where college athletes in the state of Georgia would not have to pay state income tax on NIL earnings. Georgia currently has a 5.39% income tax. This bill would eliminate that for college athletes. And here is Beach's reasoning. Quote, "We're competing with Tennessee, Texas, and Florida. who have no state income tax. We've got to get Kirby and these football coaches and basketball coaches, these coaches, a tool in their toolbox to be able to compete.
Well, I, every year in professional sports, whether it's NBA, NFL, and you got free agency, what always comes up, right, with guys getting big contracts? Well, if you go to California, you'll have a 10% state income tax. If you go take a similar deal in Florida or, one of these states that doesn't have state income tax, that's a lot more coin in your pocket.
You want to be in the AFC South. That's where you want to be.
Yep.
But I'm just trying to imagine a recruit being in Kirby Smart's office, who I think is widely considered the best college football coach in the sport, telling him, hey, coach, I just don't think I'm going to come. The state income tax, man, it's just, Can you imagine that? Because I can't. I don't think that's ever happened. Ever.
It's like, coach, you guys made the same offer NIL wise that Florida did. Yeah. Okay. But you see, it's actually 5.39% less than Florida is offering because, the whole state income tax deal. Sorry.
Kirby Smart would go, get out of my office. You know who pays state income taxes in Georgia? The guys that play for the Atlanta Falcons. So, at what point does this thing, at what point do we stop this ridiculous process, dude? Now these guys aren't going to have to pay state income taxes that every other citizen in the state of Georgia has to pay?
That's the thing. It's like, oh, okay.
What are we doing?
That's interesting. That's an interesting way to become more competitive. Don't mind the 20 million other people or however many people live in the state of Georgia that are going to be like, hey, hang on a second. Wait, what? I mean, I've got to pay it, but they don't. Yeah. Interesting to see how that will be received by everyone else. Maybe they won't. Maybe they don't care. They say, yeah, whatever we got to do to be competitive, let's pass this thing. I don't know, but I could see people saying, hell no. If they're not paying, I'm not paying.
Ted, I think it's a fair characterization for both of us to say that we hate taxes.
Yeah. Yes.
Hate them.
Mm-hmm.
Hate them. But can you really have your college football players not paying state income tax and every other person in your state paying them? And maybe this doesn't happen, but just saying it out loud sounds ridiculous.
It does. I guess it shows what you value, I guess, right? I don't know. I mean, I think that people would quickly respond with, well, what about first responders? Do we not value them? Do we not want to get the best first responders? Do we not want to get the best teachers? Why don't we say they don't pay state income tax? I don't know. It feels like it sounds like a good idea in the beginning to say, hey, this could give us an edge to be more competitive, but I don't know. I guess we'll see how it goes. If they pass it, I would be willing to bet there's a bunch of other schools around the country that'll make really quick phone calls to their legislators to see if they can maybe present a bill to see if they can get it through for their players as well.
I would imagine the state of Oklahoma will be on that list.
Yeah, they're trying to drop it here just across the board anyway, so.
Right. And I think that's something that these state senators in Georgia mentioned, like, hey, we're hoping to get to no state income tax at all, but we're at this huge disadvantage. If you got guys, Georgia has put how many players in the league? under Kirby Smart.
All of them.
Basically you have I don't know a 50% chance, a 60% chance of being drafted if you go to Georgia. That's probably maybe a little high, but you know what I mean. Like
Right.
they are putting player after player after player in the National Football League, and a lot of them are being drafted early. If you got a guy making decisions over a 5.39% state income tax, you may not want that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know, dude. It just feels like this whole thing it keeps getting, just when you think it can't get more ridiculous, it just keeps going.
It does. Um, I, I don't know. The next step, I guess, logically, is that the states will be able to use income tax revenue to pay NIL to college athletes, right? I mean, is that the next step in this thing?
You want to know maybe the most interesting part about this? One of the sponsors of the bill, the beach guy, said he hasn't talked to Kirby Smart about this. He hasn't talked to Georgia's AD or president about this. He got this idea from having dinner at the lake with Nick Saban.
Oh man. Nick becoming a lobbyist now for the NIL groups, I guess, right? That's funny.
It's like, hey, you don't want to be at any disadvantage, and I get that, but can someone please just pass a federal law so we could just have the same rules,
Yep.
please? Everyone in the state will pay income tax, but college football players. Oh, loser of the week. Give me Ryan Day.
Mm.
Won his national title. He's on cloud nine. He's not worrying about anything, but winning and success, a lot of times it comes with a cost, and he's losing a lot of guys off that staff. Jim Knowles going to Penn State. He lost his offensive line coach, Justin Fry. He's now the offensive line coach for the Arizona Cardinals. And now Chip Kelly goes to the Las Vegas Raiders. And did you see the reported salary for Chip Kelly?
No, I didn't.
$6 million a year.
Ooh.
That's
Wow.
the report. I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. That's what
That's
I saw. So that would make him the NFL's highest paid coordinator. So that's an easy choice if you're Chip Kelly. Hey,
hey,
you don't have to deal with all this NIL and recruiting. And I don't think Chip was doing much of that anyways. But hey, just go coach ball and make a ton of money. Live in the suburbs of Vegas. Okay. Sure.
that's wild. Yeah, I guess I didn't expect that from Chip Kelly to go back to the NFL, but $6 million, that's perhaps the push you need. What, Brian Harsin now going to be the offensive coordinator?
I I hadn't seen that, but I I would assume Ryan Day is going to have a lot of people want that job.
Yeah.
But when you think about all they're losing off the team, Will Howard, Abuka, Josh Simmons, Seth McLaughlin,
Their whole defense.
the whole defense, Sawyer, JTT, Cody Simon, Burke at corner, like Ransom, like they're losing a ton of guys. And now you're losing your offense coordinator, your defensive coordinator, and your O-line coach.
Mm.
It's with the way that roster building works now, it's going to be very, very impressive if Ryan Day can get that team back to a championship level for the 2025 season. Because it's not the same. It's not what it used to be because of NIL, because of how this thing is functioning now. I still think Ohio State's going to be very good, but this is going to be a huge test for Ryan Day to get that team back to the level that everyone expects Ohio State to be at.
And they open with Texas.
Whoa. Ohio State would lose their entire team and both coordinators when they get Texas, of course.
Look,
Everything's breaking Texas's way over the last couple seasons.
it's all
Dang
falling
it.
into place for him. Yep.
Chip Kelly, that's awesome, but they better go find a quarterback.
Yeah.
I think the Raiders quarterbacks this year were like Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell. I'm pretty sure Desmond Ritter's on that roster. That
A lot of the mocks have him getting Shador Sanders.
I assume Chip Kelly will have some opinions on which guy he would like to have, but we'll see. They got a new
Yep.
GM. Everyone's really excited about. Was it Spytech? What a name, by the way. But I'm interested in seeing how that goes for Chip. But for we focus on college football here for the most part. It's a bit of an uphill climb for Ryan Day for the 2025 season when you think about what they lost off the roster and what they lost from the staff.
It's gonna be a tough rebuild for him for sure.
Birthday shout outs. Happy 5th birthday to Jack Caps.
Happy 11th birthday to Raylan Douillard. Douillard? Doulard?
Dullard?
Doulard?
I don't know. The I makes it. Yeah, the I makes it seem fancy, huh?
Douillard? I don't know.
I don't know. I think you had to have hit it with one of those.
Happy birthday, Raylan.
Happy 14th birthday to Malik Craig.
Happy 32nd birthday to John Braden Big Ball Johnson.
Just going to leave it alone. Happy 33rd birthday to Christopher Moon.
Happy 33rd birthday to Chase Costner.
Happy 50th birthday to Michael Chatlin.
Happy 56th birthday to the Lance Ward.
Happy birthday to Danny Boob Bostwick.
Happy birthday to Rex Gampy Corlett.
A lot of nicknames
I like it.
in this
That's
version
how
of
we
birthday
want it.
shout outs.
How we want it.
On that note, episode 499 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Turns out, kind of hard to get someone to record with you right after the Super Bowl. We're working on it. May just be us then. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you check out our website, okbreakdown.com. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.